I wasn't trying to rob.
Shut up! Before I bust a cap up in your ass. Now what you done with Day and Roach?
Day is my people.
Shut up! Now who sent you, nigga?
Nobody sent me.
Say another motherfucking word and this shit is over. And I ain't playing, nigga.
I can show you how to fit an M in a duffel. Show you how to fit 100 bags in a duffel. Went and bought a demon nigga just to burn rubber.
So what the hell is going on with the NBA and
China?
Now, over the past few weeks, days, whatever, there's been a whole lot of controversy with China and Hong Kong and the protests and why NBA players and coaches, or certain NBA players and coaches, have or have not been speaking out on this. You know, Daryl Morey sent out a tweet. There's whole blowback. I'll get into the NBA ramifications soon, but for right now, let's talk about the Hong Kong protests themselves so you actually know what I'm talking about when we do talk about the NBA side. So let's get it started. Hong Kong is a bit different than mainland China. So in 1842, they were leased to the United Kingdom, and that meant United Kingdom had control over it. It was a territory, much like how the Bahamas are a territory of the US. And after that 99-year lease was up, China decided to still let Hong Kong have a lot of the democratic principles that the United Kingdom instilled over that 99 years. And to this day, they still have a lot of those democratic principles in place. Now, here's where we get into the kind of messed up stuff. See, China has a history of human rights violations, and Hong Kong doesn't really want to be under China like that. They want to keep their democracy, their free speech, all that type of stuff. And Hong Kong believes that China has been covertly or doing stuff under the table to try to usurp those democratic principles from Hong Kong. And this is where the protest starts to come in. The main points are Hong Kong feels like they're losing their democratic presence in their own city. And this all culminates in the fact that Hong Kong's constitution, called the Basic Law, it expires in 2047. So at this point right now, it's 2019, so that's in 28 years. There are people in Hong Kong who are worrying that by the time 28 years comes up, that mainland China is going to come in and basically be like, all right, y'all had y'all time. Y'all back under us now. All right, congratulations, y'all China again. Now, this is just the whole gist of things. I'll leave a link to an article in the description so y'all can actually read through the entire thing yourself so you can get all the facts. But this is mainly an NBA video, so I didn't want to bog it down with the China stuff. Now that you understand the main thing about China and what these Hong Kong protests mean and why it's happening, I'm going to start talking about what it means for the NBA and why certain people have seen the NBA as kind of hypocritical for taking the stance that they have so far. You know, dudes like Steve Kerr, LeBron, Coach Pop, and you know, there's a whole lot of other NBA people and the NBA in general, including Adam Silver. But let's get into that right now. So Daryl Morey, the GM of the Houston Rockets, tweeted out this. Take a good look. Take it all in. That's what everybody's pissed off about. Well, I won't say everybody. That's what people in China are pissed off about. Now, you and me, as Americans, might look and say, well, goddamn, why they so pissed off about this? It's just, you know, they're trying to support democracy, you know. But from what I've seen, the way China looks at this is like, who the fuck are y'all to tell us what to do? China basically looking at Daryl Morey like, if you don't get the fuck out of our face with all that, you know, mind y'all own business. Now, I can't really argue with China on that point. If someone came to me trying to tell me about my household, I'd probably be a little salty too. But the thing is, China don't just want to come back at Daryl Morey. They want Daryl Morey fired. They want heads to roll. They want niggas to lose their jobs. And you can see that by what China has done in reaction to this. You know, you've probably heard about, or if you haven't heard about it, I'll tell you right now. China taking down all types of posters and billboards and pretty much deleting everything Houston Rockets related from China. And as a lot of y'all might know, in China, the Houston Rockets had a pretty big fan base. They had a pretty big presence in China. And China recently, they've been painting over Rockets murals and, you know, paintings and shit. Just, they've been trying to take the Rockets off the map in China. And also just NBA stuff in general. You might have seen the Instagram post where There are people taking down the billboards or the pictures or whatever of LeBron for the Lakers preseason game. Like, they are doing the most to let the NBA know, we will fuck up your money for talking about us. Keep our names out your mouth. And in my opinion, that's cool. If China wants to run their shit like that, that is their decision. I don't got any issue with that. I mean, I'm a pro-democracy person. You know, I think democracy cool, but I'm not gonna try to tell them how to run their shit. Where the hypocrisy with the NBA starts coming in is the NBA really promoted themselves as being a free speech league. They promoted themselves as being the league that lets their players talk about what they want to talk about, go out and address the issues they want to address, whatever. You know, one of the things that people have been talking about is when the NFL was out there trying to make sure they kept their money straight, when the NFL was trying to, you know, make sure they stopped the hemorrhaging from certain situations, namely the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, the NBA was sitting there and NBA players sitting there like, wow, y'all niggas really got to be under the NFL. That's crazy. You know, we get to talk about what we want to talk about over in the NBA. That's us. You know, we can be more than athletes over here. Y'all niggas, I mean, I don't know about y'all NFL niggas. But now that China is pissed off at the NBA, and China is a big source of revenue for the NBA, now the NBA looking shook now. You know, Adam Silver making statements, coming out, supporting Daryl Morey, but at the same time saying, look, Daryl, we support his free speech, but what he said does not represent what we say. That's Daryl. That ain't the Rockets. That ain't the NBA. That ain't Adam Silver. That's Daryl.
That's my fight, punk!
You got knocked the fuck out!
Oh, you want something too, old man? Huh?
No. Get off your ass and get in this car, boy. I don't know why you come down here messing with these people.
And to piggyback on that even more, you know, they asked dudes like James Harden, they asked him at a press conference at the time. It was like, you know, it's just an innocent, I won't say innocent, you know, obviously a reporter is trying to get an answer, but they were just asking about, all right, so y'all really been talking out a lot in the NBA, that's been promoted. Now that this whole thing with China has happened, do you think that's going to change how you talk out in the future or how you go about your free speech in the future? It was something along those lines. I'll put the actual question in here somewhere.
Thank you. Hi, Christina McFarland, CNN. The NBA has always been a league that prides itself on its player and its coaches being able to speak out openly about political and societal affairs. I just wonder, after the events of this week and the fallout we've seen, whether you would both feel differently about speaking out in that way in future.
Excuse me, we're taking basketball questions only.
It's a legitimate question. This is an event that's happened this week during the NBA. This particular question has not been answered. James.
But one of the Rocket staff came and said, oh, we're not taking political questions. And it's like, okay, I understand if it was a political question like this dude rolled up and said, hey, how you feel about what Trump just said? It's like, okay, that has nothing to do with the NBA. This has a lot to do with the NBA. Now, does it have to do with specifically on the court stuff? No. But I mean, let's be honest. Niggas get tired of saying, so how'd you feel about this play? Yeah, we saw you do X, Y, and Z. How'd you feel about that? What was going through your mind? Like, who gives a fuck? And then they had that whole thing where they asked Steve Kerr about the situation. And Steve Kerr, you know, he was like, I don't know a whole lot about the situation, so I don't want to comment on that.
Actually, I don't. I mean, it's a really bizarre international story, and a lot of us don't know what to make of it. So it's something I'm reading about, and just like everybody is, but I'm not going to comment further.
You know, that's fine. If you don't know a lot about a situation, you don't feel well informed on it, I have no issue with you not talking about it. That is, hey, we live in America, freedom of speech. You don't know nothing about something, you should not have to talk about it. Or you shouldn't have to talk about it if you don't want to talk about it, period. But here's the thing, and I'm not some huge Trump guy, you know, but I respect the presidency. I respect the office of the president. But Steve Kerr, he found himself talking spicy about the U.S. and about the president a whole lot. And it's hard for me personally to believe that every single issue he ever talks about with the US, he has 100% knowledge on. And if he does have 100% knowledge on every issue he talks about in the US, my nigga, it ain't that hard to go up and research what's happening in Hong Kong. It's not that hard. The same way you might look up gun violence in the US, you know, racial whatever in the US, whatever, you know, what did Trump say or all this type of stuff, just type it in on Google, my nigga, and you'll find what you need to find. You could do the same thing with Hong Kong. So it's hard for me to believe that he really just didn't know what about the situation. He just didn't want to speak on it. For me, it's more plausible to believe that China has a really big hand and Nike has a really big hand in NBA. The money that these coaches and players makes, a lot of that is funneled through China, and these niggas don't want to fuck up their money. I don't blame them at all, but let's keep it real here. You don't want to talk about the situation because if China fuck around, they do to you what they did to the Rockets. We saw how China just nicks the Rockets out of nowhere. They say, yep, one tweet, my nigga, it's over with. Just think how easy it'll be for them to do that to players or coaches who get money from China. And all this really culminates in what I personally see as hypocrisy. And other people also see it this way, but I'm speaking more on myself here. When you want to speak out against social issues and social injustice as you see it, that's cool. You know, do you? But don't tell me it's all about social injustice when there's injustice happening in a country that we are partners with in a big way in a lot of our industries, and it's easily researched. You could easily find out about the injustices and the human rights violations, and you just say, I don't know about it. It's 2019. If you wanted to know about it, you know about it. It's about the money. That's cool. You want to make your money. That's fine. But don't try to lie to my face and say it's about something else. You say you're all about social injustice until that bank account get hurt. That bank account get touched a little bit. Then you be like, wait, we was playing. You know, that ain't, you know, yeah, we was playing. And I'll post some charts or whatever all throughout the video so y'all can see the connection NBA players have with their shoe companies and how these shoe companies have connections in China. It's pretty easy to, you know, just to think about, because a lot of shoe companies, they have their shoes made in China. They have a lot of their products made in China. A lot of U.S. industries, period, have a lot of their products made in China because China doesn't have a minimum wage. You can pay a lot of Chinese people a very low amount of money to make their make products. So when it's shipped over here to the US, the people who create the products can make more money off them, or can set the product prices lower simply because it didn't take as much money to create the products. You know, simple. But yeah, man, that's the situation over in China. I just wanted to speak on it, tell y'all if y'all didn't know the specifics of what's happening in Hong Kong and how that relates to the NBA. If y'all feel differently, that's cool. Hey, let me know. I'm always down to hear what y'all got to say. But hey, thanks for watching the video. It's been your boy Big Stall, and I'm gonna catch y'all later. Peace.